Have you ever felt like you were following all the health rules, yet something still felt off? What if one of the most fundamental pieces of health advice you've ever received was not just slightly off, but catastrophically wrong? We are talking about a massive systemic error concerning vitamin D that was quietly exposed back in 2014. Yet the official recommendations have never been corrected. For years, we've been told that taking 600 international units, or IUs, of vitamin D3 is perfectly sufficient for our needs. This wasn't a simple typo in a medical journal. It was a fundamental miscalculation with devastating consequences that continue to ripple through the health of millions today. This so-called gross error has led to a silent epidemic of deficiency, leaving countless people to suffer from health problems they would never think to connect to a simple vitamin. When you begin to understand the organization that made this error, and more importantly, who benefits from keeping the official recommendation dangerously low, the picture becomes alarmingly clear. This stops looking like an innocent mistake and starts looking like a deliberate oversight, a cover-up designed to protect a system rather than the people it claims to serve. The foundation of the current vitamin D recommendation is built on a statistical flaw so significant it's hard to believe it was accidental. When the Institute of Medicine originally evaluated the data, they didn't look at the needs of individuals. Instead, they made a critical error by analyzing study averages, essentially making the wildly inaccurate assumption that every single person responds to vitamin D in the exact same way. Imagine a school district averaging the test scores from 30 different classrooms and, based on that average, declaring that every student is passing with flying colors. In reality, this broad average completely hides the fact that in many of those classrooms, half the students are still failing badly. This is precisely what happened with the vitamin D calculations. This flawed methodology led to the official recommendation of just 600 to 1,000 IUs per day, a dose that doctors confidently tell us is good for bone health, immunity, and overall well-being. The devastating consequence is that while this dose might be enough for a small fraction of the population, it leaves the vast majority dangerously deficient, never connecting their chronic fatigue, low mood, or weakened immune system to the simple fact that they are following outdated and incorrect advice. The story took a dramatic turn in 2014 when two independent researchers decided to reanalyze the exact same data the Institute of Medicine had originally used. They didn't introduce new information, they simply applied the correct statistical methods to the existing numbers. Their findings were nothing short of explosive. They discovered that to ensure that nearly all of the population achieves a sufficient blood level, the real required daily intake was not 600 IUs. The actual number was a staggering 8,095 IUs per day, nearly 15 times higher than the official recommendation. This wasn't a fringe theory from a single paper. This dramatic recalculation was later confirmed by other independent research groups who also reviewed the data. Logically, a finding of this magnitude should have triggered an immediate public health announcement and a swift correction of the guidelines. Yet, to this day, this crucial information has been completely and utterly ignored by the very authorities responsible for public health. The official recommendation remains unchanged, a silent testament to a system that seems unwilling to admit a mistake, even when the health of millions is at stake. To truly grasp why such a critical error would be ignored, we must look closer at the organization that set these guidelines, the Institute of Medicine, which has since been renamed the National Academy of Medicine. In his book Forbidden Facts, Gavin Becker sheds a disturbing light on how this institution truly operates. We tend to view this organization as the ultimate scientific authority, a trusted body that exists to protect us. The reality, however, is that this private group is often hired by the government when it needs to prove that a particular medical product or policy is safe. Its primary function, as Becker argues, is not to uncover objective truth, but to protect the established system at all costs. A chilling example of this is the vaccine autism investigation. Before the committee even began their review, they allegedly made a predetermined declaration, We will not conclude vaccines cause autism. The outcome was decided before the first piece of evidence was even examined. This pattern of protecting the system over people is perhaps best illustrated by the Agent Orange scandal. The government was aware of the chemical's toxicity as early as 1969, but they concealed the data and hired the Institute of Medicine. For decades, the IOM repeatedly issued the same conclusion: more studies are needed. All the while, soldiers were dying and their families were suffering, their pleas for help buried under a mountain of manufactured scientific uncertainty. This disturbing playbook of delay and denial has been used time and time again. Consider the connection between talcum baby powder and asbestos. Johnson & Johnson admitted to the FDA that its baby powder contained asbestos, yet it took the system a full 44 years to officially acknowledge the problem. The Institute of Medicine's primary method appears to be a war of attrition: delay long enough for the problem to fade from public consciousness, for the victims to age or pass away, and for the corporate liability to diminish or disappear entirely. We saw it again with silicone breast implants. After billions had been paid out in settlements to women who suffered severe health consequences, the Institute of Medicine released a report declaring the implants to be perfectly safe. And just like that, the remaining lawsuits evaporated overnight. This demonstrates the immense power of the IOM's stamp of approval, a power that seems to be wielded more often to protect industry than people. So, when we see this same organization clinging to a dangerously low vitamin D recommendation, we have to ask a difficult question. Is this truly just a mistake they are unwilling to correct? Or is it something far more intentional, a decision influenced by the powerful industries that benefit from a population that is chronically unwell? The organization takes millions of dollars from entities like Coca-Cola, Nestlé, PepsiCo, and numerous large pharmaceutical companies, including over $19 million from opioid manufacturers just before releasing pain guidelines that encouraged wider prescribing. When the rule makers take money from big food and big pharma, you don't get pure science. You get a compromised consensus. The consequences of this suppressed information are profound, because vitamin D is not just a bone vitamin, as many believe. It is a critical steroid hormone that influences nearly every system in the human body. Its role in immune regulation is paramount, acting as a modulator that helps your immune system fight off infections effectively without overreacting and causing autoimmune conditions. It is essential for muscle function, brain health, and mood, with low levels being strongly linked to an increased risk of depression and a decline in cognitive abilities like memory, focus, and concentration. Furthermore, vitamin D has a massive influence on your metabolic health, playing a key role in controlling blood sugars and improving your body's ability to burn fat and lose weight. Perhaps most critically, your risk for developing various types of cancer goes up significantly when you are deficient in this vital nutrient. Yet, despite this overwhelming body of evidence, doctors today are still operating from the old playbook, referencing outdated guidelines based on the flawed calculation from years ago. They continue to prescribe the minuscule 600 IU dose to millions of people, unknowingly perpetuating a cycle of deficiency and chronic illness. What's truly fascinating is that after the mistake was revealed, the establishment didn't just fail to correct it, they doubled down, actively defending the low number and insisting on its validity, even in the face of contradictory mathematical proof. A crucial part of this puzzle is understanding what a healthy vitamin D level actually is, and unfortunately, there is no universally agreed upon standard. Health authorities will often tell you that a blood level of 20 nanograms per milliliter is sufficient, but we must ask, sufficient for what? That level might be just enough to prevent the most extreme deficiency disease, rickets, which causes soft bones in children, but it is nowhere near the optimal level required for robust immune function, brain health, or the prevention of chronic diseases. This is especially true for someone with a therapeutic need, such as an individual struggling with an inflammatory condition, diabetes, obesity, a fatty liver, or an autoimmune autoimmune disease. These conditions create a state of vitamin D resistance, meaning the body requires even higher levels to achieve the same benefits. Considering the reanalyzed data showing that the average person needs nearly 9,000 IUs daily just to maintain their levels, the 600 IU recommendation seems tragically inadequate. A more evidence-based optimal range to aim for is between 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. This higher level helps ensure that it's not just your blood that has enough vitamin D, but that enough is getting inside your cells where it can actually perform its vital functions. When authorities focus intensely on the supposed risks of toxicity, they are completely ignoring the elephant in the room, the massive, widespread deficiency that affects the majority of the population and the devastating health consequences that come with it. Whenever higher doses of vitamin D are discussed, the fear of toxicity is inevitably raised, but this concern is vastly overstated. A true toxicity event from vitamin D3 is exceptionally rare. You would need to take hundreds of thousands of IUs every single day for many months to even approach a potentially toxic effect. The only real toxic effect is hypercalcemia, which is a buildup of too much calcium in the blood, and there are simple, effective ways to prevent this. Taking magnesium is essential, as vitamin D3 cannot work properly without it. Supplementing with vitamin K2 is also crucial, as it acts like a traffic cop for calcium, directing it out of the bloodstream and into your bones where it belongs. Simply drinking enough water, around 2.5 liters a day, can help dilute your urine and prevent the formation of kidney stones. The bigger question we should be asking is this: if the sun provides vitamin D for free and every single cell in our body has a receptor for it, why are most adults and children worldwide now deficient? The answer is that we have collectively built an indoor inflamed, sugar-fed society. We are told to avoid the sun at all costs, and that a pathetically small 600 IU dose will be enough, all while the mathematical error that proves we need far more is completely ignored. Therefore, the path forward is clear. Start getting sensible sun exposure whenever you can. On the days you can't, supplement with an appropriate dose of vitamin D3, and always take it with its essential cofactors, vitamin K2 and magnesium, to ensure it works safely and effectively.